Hey, Grayson Carter here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how to fine-tune your Facebook ad for maximum performance and compliance. So let's run through each one of these and compare it to our ad and make sure that we have all the elements to make it as high performing as possible, and also make sure that it's in compliance with all of Facebook's policies and all the requirements that they have in order to keep our account in good standing and make sure that our ads are running. So how to optimize for performance. If you've gone through and created your ad already and followed those instructions pretty closely, there's a good chance that you already had these things taken care of, but it's a good double check just to make sure that we've done these things one last time before we start getting ready to actually publish the ad and get it out there. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we start with a local area, even if you run a virtual business. So even if you work in your entire state or across multiple states or even nationwide, for this sort of campaign, it works much better to start in a local area and just target those individual people. In general, people would rather work with somebody in their backyard than somebody halfway across the country, assuming all other things are equal. So let's see if we can pick up some of the low-hanging fruit of the people that are in our local area. We can always expand later if we need to, but we've seen a lot of success, people just doing, say, like a 20-mile radius around their current location or around their office location. And there's usually plenty of people that need your help in that small of a radius that this campaign is going to work just fine, even if we're not targeting a huge area. The next thing we need to make sure of is that we're solving one specific problem. Sometimes I'll see ads that people put out and they'll be trying to do too much in one ad. They'll be talking about migraines, eczema, IBS, you name it, all sorts of things, thyroid issues, weight loss. And even if the work that you do relates to all those things, each person that has one of those, and maybe they only fit into one or a couple of those categories or have a couple of those problems, each one of those comes with a completely different set of expectations and the way you work with them. It just makes it too complicated if we're trying to push too many things at once. So try to pick the most specific problem that you can, one that's a painful problem, it's a bleeding neck problem, something that people are willing and able to pay for, and focus on that. You can always go back and run a different ad later that focuses on another one of those elements, but at least for the first ad, pick one specific problem to focus on. Reason being is that escape from pain is always more powerful than moving towards desire. So helping somebody get away from their present pain, helping them get off Hell Island, is going to be more powerful or more motivating for them than promising getting to Heaven Island. So if we can get really clear on all the pain points that are existing for that person on Hell Island, that's going to be a much stronger motivator for them to make a change than if we're talking about all the great things that are going to happen after their transformation. So let's sell escape from pain as our main objective in the ad. Another thing that, and this is kind of a bigger topic, but I want to bring it up here, and that's we want to, as much as we can, we want to make it feel like something outside of themselves is doing the heavy lifting. So if we can position our program that they're going to get these tools and resources that are going to do most of the work for them, we're going to be more successful in getting those people to convert. If our program relies on having people change things about themselves, change things internally, that's going to be a lot harder to convince them to do. Because if people have to change things about themselves, that brings up a whole host of other concerns. Like people are afraid, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not disciplined enough. I don't have the education. I don't have the time. And so it brings up this whole host of objections. But if we can just hand them the solution, or as much as possible, hand them the solution as something like tangible that they can hold, the more that they're going to believe that it's possible and that it's going to be easier to do. So one of the examples that I use in this program is one of the bonuses is the 6K email. So if you were to get the 6K email, that's almost something like you can visualize, you could hold it. It's like something tangible. But if I was just to say, hey, come into this program and as a bonus, you're going to learn how to write a price increase email, which is really what the 6K email is. It's an email to say, hey, we're raising our prices and you can get it at the old price. When there's an element of learning, there's always a chance that people are going to feel like, well, what if I don't learn it properly? What if I don't understand it? What if I get it wrong? there's all these insecurities that come up around learning. But if you just get the 6K email, it's like the email is there and you can't mess it up. So one of the ways that we can do this is anytime we're saying like learn how to do such and such, let's see if we can change that to say get this such and such. So using get more than learn in our ads and in our marketing copy is going to help us do that. It's going to make it feel like there's something tangible that they're getting, and it's less dependent on them and their motivation and their commitment to get that result. Now, I know it's important. They obviously have to, there's obviously things that they're going to have to change about themselves, and there's going to have to be some motivation and some commitment to this. But the more that we can minimize the dependence on that, the more successful we're going to be in getting clients to come on board. Now, lastly, we want to make sure that we have a clear call to action. Now, I'm always surprised how many people try to do something fancy here and don't do anything fancy. Literally have 2 calls to action, or really it's just one, and you're kind of giving them another option. And that is comment, put your email in the comments, or PM me directly and I'll send you over a link to the application. We don't want to send them to Acuity right away. So don't put any links in the ad. Don't try to send them off to some landing page to get more information. Let's just get them to either comment, and if they don't want to do that, then to reach out directly via the Facebook Messenger in order to contact you. So that's how to optimize the ad. So once you've written it, make sure to compare it to your ad against some of these optimization strategies to see if you can maybe make some tweaks to boost the performance. So now I want to talk about how to stay compliant with Facebook's policies. Now, unfortunately, this is really a moving target, and so it's important to stay up on their latest trends. I feel like pretty much every time I log into my Facebook account, that something looks different. There's a new feature, there's some new tweak. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's frustrating because I'm not really sure why it's there or why we need it. So it's important to just start to get familiar with this stuff and be educated on what their policies are so that you can always make sure that you're playing properly in their sandbox. One thing to keep in mind is that 80% of the ads that you're going to submit are machine reviewed. That means that a person isn't reading them. It's just Facebook's machine servers that are reviewing it, looking for a handful of predetermined criteria to see if they're going to approve it or not. Really, the remaining 20% are reviewed by people. So the reason I mentioned this is that we can't expect machines to understand some of the nuances that happen in our ads. So if we're kind of borderline with some of the policies, there's a good chance our ads are going to get rejected. And that's just going to make it tougher for us to get our future ads approved and running properly. So if there's some nuance and you feel like, hey, I'm kind of walking a tightrope here, let's err on the side of being more conservative to start, and then maybe push the envelope a little more as you get more and more ads approved. So the next thing is that I want to point you to a resource on Facebook's page, and that's really just Facebook's prohibited content policies. And this is really where if your ad is going to get rejected, chances are it's going to be because of one of these few policies. So let me just go ahead and bring it up here and I'll show you what that is. Really, the 3 we're going to be pointing out are number 12, personal attributes, number 13, misleading or false content, and number 19, personal health. So let's take a look at these, and I'll put links below this video so you can find these again. But I just want to point these out so you know where to find them. Okay, so like I said, there's really three main policies that we need to pay really close attention to because most of our ads are going to kind of touch on these. The first one is personal attributes. So this is kind of a tough one to dance around because we are talking to specific people with specific problems, but the way that we position the ad will depend on whether it gets approved or not. So you can see here, they give us a lot of examples for race, religion, age, sexual orientations, gender identity, disability for medical conditions. So actually, this is one we really need to pay attention to. So you can see here that where it says bulimia counseling available, that would be approved, but saying, do you have diabetes? Not approved. Depression counseling. Yep, that's fine. But depression getting you down, get help now. So you can see it's almost like they're saying the same thing, but they're just slightly changing how they're doing it. And it's changing whether it gets approved or not. So some of these can be a little bit frustrating because you can feel like you're saying the exact same thing that they are, but for whatever reason, there's a small nuance that's causing it to get kicked out. So that's number 12. 13 is misleading or false content. Another one, even if you have great case studies to share, like being able to reduce symptoms a certain percentage over a certain amount of time, you have to have some pretty legitimate documentation to be able to support that. Facebook doesn't like exaggerated claims, and they're starting to crack down on this even more. So again, this just may be something like saying claims or cures for uncurable or uncorrectable diseases, claims of unrealistic results within specific timeframes. So these are all things we just got to be careful when we're making our claims that we fall on the good side of these policies. And the last one is personal health. Really what this comes down to is this is more about the ads. We can't have before and after images as any of our ad images. So having some of these more generic pictures like people running, eating salad, that's fine. But some of the more probably common weight loss pictures that you see on the internet with the oversized pants, the scale, before and after pictures, that's just not going to fly. So just stay away from those completely. In addition to these, I'll put a couple other links to a few other resources of a couple articles that I've found online of people that are great Facebook marketers and have done just have some of their own experience to share on this. Unfortunately, this is always going to be a moving target. Facebook does change things, update things. I think it is going to be for the better for the platform, but it's just something you're going to have to be educated on and make sure that you kind of understand what's happening when it comes to these different policies. So really just to wrap this up, the last thing is that you want to make sure that once you're done with your ad, that you read through these policies and compare it to your completed ad. So we're looking for ways that we've said things, different parts of our ad that may be violating these policies, and we want to change those to not violate the policies. And like I said before, when in doubt, make edits to start with a more conservative ad. We can always go back and change it and try to be more aggressive with something later, but especially with new accounts or if you're just starting out doing this, I'd rather you be a little more conservative, get the ads approved and see how they do. One thing that we're going to talk about this more in later videos, we need to stay away from having a bunch of ads disapproved when our account is still fairly fresh, because that unfortunately is going to get our account shut down, which is a real pain in the butt. So the more that we can stay compliant with these policies and get our ads approved early, it's just going to make our lives so much easier as we do more and more Facebook marketing. So that is all for now. Thanks for watching.